I've been asked to speak to you about our Honduras mission trip in January. So a couple things before I start here. Most of you know, or many of you know, that I was CFO of the parish for many years, and I've given a lot of financial reports from up here. But this is my very first homily, very first, except for that I did get to have a small group practice session at the chapel this morning, which was very nice. I wanted to ask, who all has been on this trip? Can I see a show of hands? Walt? Just Sean? So just 4 of us in the parish right now? So there's a few of us. Okay, there's a few of us that have been that are just not here today. So to start with, I'm just going to give a little brief background of Honduras, and then I'll go into our part of it. Honduras is a country in Central America about the size of Tennessee. It is bordered to the northwest by Guatemala, to the west by El Salvador, and to the south by Nicaragua. Life for most Hondurans is very difficult with little opportunity. The country has extreme income inequality with over 65% of the people living in poverty. 60% are either unemployed or underemployed. To compare this to the U.S., in 2013, U.S. GDP was $53,000 per capita. In Honduras that year, the GDP was $2,000 per capita. Honduras has high crime and violence rates and has a travel warning from the U.S. Department of State. It has the highest per capita murder rate in the world due to lack of sufficient resources for law enforcement and military. Businesses and citizens have to protect themselves. Most businesses have armed security. I watched a delivery truck for the tiny little neighborhood store across the road from the church stop to make a delivery. The truck had a driver, an armed guard with a shotgun, and a third person to deliver the goods. Many churches and other organizations have stopped going to Honduras because of the violence. The Peace Corps left in 2012. But St. Paul's has continued its mission as well as others. In the Jamelia Inn where we stayed, there were Methodist doctors and dentists on a medical mission from Louisville, Kentucky. And Honduras Episcopal Bishop Lloyd Emmanuel Allen recently wrote a letter to short-term mission teams reminding us as Christians to ask, is God calling me? Is God calling you, or you and a team, to go and do a certain work? If we are called, then we have a responsibility as Christians to respond and to not let fear keep us from obeying God. This year, we had 13 missioners on our trip. 6 were returning from St. Paul's. 3 of us were new from St. Paul's. We had 3 others, one from Oakland, one from Moraga, and one from from San Rafael, that were returning missioners as well. In addition, we had Walt Basinius and Pete Bamwell and Francis Sturgis helping us with travel and bags to and from the airport. We also had our former rector, Reverend Sylvia Vasquez, was there for, I think, just 3 days. She came just in the middle for the retirement of Reverend Maria Consuelo, who is the long-term rector of the parish there. The parish that we go to is San Juan Evangelista in the village of Villanueva in Tegucigalpa, it's outside the edge of Tegucigalpa, which is the capital of Honduras. This was the 9th Honduras mission trip for St. Paul's. Our former rector, Reverend Sylvia, led the first trip for St. Paul's in January 2008. At that time, she had already made 10 previous visits going back to the beginning of the parish. Villanueva is a slum area where squatters built dwellings on vacant land in the hills on the edge of Tegucigalpa. The roads are dirt. We were there in the dry season. I can only imagine what it must be like in the rainy season. The homes are mostly built from concrete, block, or brick. They have no windows, only window openings that are covered with steel bars. There is electricity in Villanueva, but there is no water or sewer. The homes have outhouses and water tanks on their roofs. Water has to be delivered and is expensive, so they often run out of water and do without for periods of time. The parish is similar. There is a water tank on the roof, and they are often without water. The parish is constructed of concrete block and has window openings that are covered with metal doors for security. The church grounds are secured by metal fencing that is topped with razor wire in places where people have broken in. The church was built up out of a ravine that was a dump. They acquired the property about 20 years ago, cleaned up the trash, and constructed the church facilities up from the bottom of the ravine. Our mission involves several elements. First, education. Sean, Sherry, Sue, Mary Jane, Ruth, Rosita, Cynthia, and Betty Jo worked with the youth to organize and provide Vacation Bible School. They began with about 70 children and finished with over 100. We provided 239 backpacks, different styles for different ages, filled with notebooks and supplies. The notebooks were purchased there, but most of the supplies were donated by a little bit in the loop. There was a lot of singing. They love to sing. In today's epistle, we are reminded that we have peace with God through Jesus. At San Juan Evangelista, when you say the peace, it lasts at least 10 minutes because everyone hugs everyone, and there's a lot of people. We had cake after the service in celebration of Reverend Maria Consuelo's retirement, and I saw many children and mothers saving half of their cake to take home to someone that wasn't there for the service. This was my very first mission trip. I had really no clear understanding before the trip of what a mission really was or what it could mean to both those who go and those who welcome us. I now know that a mission is not about the work we do, but rather is about the relationships we build while doing that work. Over the past 9 years, St. Paul's mission teams have built enduring relationships with the children and adult parishioners at San Juan Evangelista. Those missioners that have returned for many years have seen children grow into young adults. If our greatest commandments are to first love God with all our heart, and second to love our neighbors as ourselves, then I think mission work helps us to do just that.